The American people last November, in my mind, did a very dramatic thing. They elected a man who the Republicans didn't want, the Democrats didn't want, the media, God forbid, the media want full force. What the media is doing right now is trying to again establish their relevance, because what happened last November was the public said, the hell with you, media, I'm voting the way I want to vote, and they were shocked.
Yeah.
It was that simple.
All right, Ken Langone, I guess, sort of unleashed that full interview hearing tonight, 8 p.m. on Fox Business Network. But now the media is piling on Russia, not covering some of the other stuff that's coming out of the White House, to Making Money House, best-selling author Charles Payne as well. Charles, what he is saying effectively is they all got it wrong. What would make you think now they're getting any of this right? What do you make of that?
I don't think anyone believes they're getting it right, and I think every single day that they actually dig themselves in a deeper hole with respect to credibility. And you look at these different sort of poll numbers and where they rank. I mean, single-digit numbers in some of these polls in terms of approval and credibility. But you know, overarching, America has been sort of drifting away from large institutions for a long time anyway, just sort of losing faith that these big entities, whether it was the media, whether it was government, whether it was even some religious organizations, that they were the answer. And I think people are starting to look inward more. You know, listen, we tried 8 years of this sort of great big brother kind of socialism, government or these big entities can do it all for us. And I think people are now back to the realization that
maybe not.
That's not how we got great.
But there was a columnist in the Wall Street Journal, her name escapes me, and I apologize, but she had written to the effect that Donald Trump adds to this unnecessarily, supports the view there's other good news out there, I ought to get it out there, but the president disrupts it when he tweets about, let's say, the collusion thing or the Russian thing. He gives it new oxygen. I'm paraphrasing here. Should he just stop that and focus, let's say if he does tweet on the stuff that you're pointing out, the good economic news or the good market news, or I made this deal or whatever, you know?
I agree 1,000%. He takes the bait so often. If he would just tweet my morning commentary every morning.
Yeah, which is brilliant, by the way.
But the numbers are there. And when you start to go beneath the surface...
What I love about it, you're not taking a political... It's not a right or left. You're a money guy. It's about making money. Listen,
when President Obama was in the White House and good numbers came out, I said these are good numbers, bottom line. I mean, I'm rooting for America and the American public, and so you're right. He actually takes the bait. They've learned how to bait him.
And they play him.
Right, they learned how to do it, and you know, I think that was another sort of side thing with the 9-day trip, foreign trip. Not only was it a successful trip, obviously, but someone hit his phone, I think, or didn't get reception over there. But do you think that
when it comes to this climate thing, and you've seen the page, we showed the newspapers and all that he's, you know, killing the world, that we're all going to blow up now as a result, that I felt his event at the Rose Garden dragged on. He could have just said, it's not the deal you think. First of all, it's voluntary. It was never approved by the Senate, so it's not a real agreement. The Chinese don't have to do lickety anything for another 12, 13 years. Right. And we bear the burden. And without being part of this deal at all, we were already scaling back our carbon emissions, having nothing to do with this agreement. But he went on and on and veered all over the map.
We went from 24% to 16% of the world's pollution because of the fracking miracle and other technology.
Nothing to do with this deal.
You're right. And you know, and what happens is this morning, all of the heavy hitters in the White House had to go out, to your point, and sort of add to what the president said, and in some cases didn't say. You know, the mainstream media said he never used the term climate change. Actually, this deal wasn't about climate change, right? This was always about redistribution of wealth. It was an absolute lousy deal for Americans. And ironically, even if you believed in climate change, even if you believed in man-made climate change, it was a lousy deal for that as well. It was strictly a redistribution of wealth. It was just sort of social justice.
Well, you'll never get that coverage in the media. They just won't.
But that's why he had the platform just to say it straight out to your point.
Go ahead, finish.
Right, and then the ad-libs, right? So you pause a moment, and then, you know, I thought we were going to hear about the Electoral College again, right? And I understand he's desperate to get that stuff out there because no one talks about it. I understand where he's coming from.
And he was very savvy to know he had this moment, everyone was going to be on it, so he started out by talking about all the good news, which was fine, you know, to make that point. But on this one, because the media is certainly not going to do it, but on this one, he could have just pointed out, you know, I have not abandoned the environment, and these are continuing under my watch. but now a lot of people are leery of him. Do you think that Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, had a point to say, you could argue these same points from within the club, within the 195 nations part of this agreement, and have more leverage with them, because he chose to ignore that advice?
I do understand that the way this was structured, the longer we lingered inside of it, the more wedded to it we became. So I think President Trump did the right thing. I also think he did the smart thing by saying, hey, we're open to renegotiating this. As far as the other stuff is concerned, you know, when I started out as a broker, President Trump reminds me of Wall Street back, I started as a broker in 1987. And it's like the Glengarry Glen Ross thing. Always be closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. And he's going to sell you. He's going to sell you first. And by the way, he's got to right now in this environment. But you're right. And some of the low-hanging fruit stuff, the stuff that has nothing to do with the big picture, just avoid it.
Yeah, well put, well put. But he doesn't do that.
Doesn't do it, not yet.
Charles Payne, thank you very, very much. Look forward to the show.